want to extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you for joining us here for our April 21st board meeting of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners. I appreciate everybody who has come out tonight, as well as folks who are online who've tuned in. I'm Robert Sally. I serve as the chair of the board and appreciate this honor to continue to serve our community. I would now like to read a roll call of the board to identify who is here first. Please identify yourself first before speaking for the record. And tonight for our public board votes, I'll go through each of the roll calls for each vote. Vice Chair Parker.
Vice Chair Parker, present.
Thank you. Welcome. Commissioner Ames Messenger.
Ames Messenger, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Chicas Guzman. She'll be right back. Commissioner Coy.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner
Esposito?
Esposito.
Yes. Yes.
I'm present.
Present.
Sorry.
Yes, I'm present.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay, present.
Welcome. Commissioner Mohammed.
Mohammed, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Scott Woodruff.
Commissioner Scott Woodruff, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Simmons.
Simmons, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Slater Harrington, present.
Welcome. And I'm also present. Is there a motion to reopen tonight's meeting?
So move, Parker.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Scott Woodruff.
Thank you. Commissioner Scott Woodruff. All in favor? Vice Chair Parker.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Ames Messenger.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Coy.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Esposito.
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Yes.
Commissioner Mohammed.
Yes.
Commissioner Scott Woodruff.
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons.
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
And I'm in favor. This motion passes. I'd like to welcome the JROTC from Frederick Douglass High School and welcome everybody to stand for the presentation of arms.
The sound is turned off while they present the arms.
That face, present arms. And Cadet Major Amos Douglas High School. JROTC has permission to. Thank you, Lynn. Order arms. Other reverse. March.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Join me on a warm round of applause. And I'm really excited. I just want to not only acknowledge the students at Frederick Douglass, but just our excitement and our enthusiasm to bring online a new building at Frederick Douglass later this summer. The renovations are going to be remarkable. I've had an opportunity to drive by a couple of times to see all that's transpiring there that will create just a world-class opportunity for our students who attend Frederick Douglass. So we're excited about that. Is there a motion to approve the prior open session minutes?
So moved, Esposito.
Second, Chicas Guzman.
All right. First and second. All in favor, Vice Chair Parker?
Yes.
Commissioner Ames Messenger?
Yes.
Commissioner Chicas Guzman?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Mohammed?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott Woodruff?
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons? Commissioner Slater Harrington?
Yes.
And I'm in favor. This motion passes. Is there a motion to approve the closed session summaries?
So moved, Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. All in favor, Vice Chair Parker?
Yes.
Commissioner Ames Messenger?
Yes.
Commissioner Chicas Guzman?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Mohammed?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott Woodruff?
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater-Harrington,
Yes.
and I'm in favor, and this motion passes. So this is what I'm most excited about this evening. We tonight, as you heard yesterday, had an opportunity to welcome our new CEO, who will succeed Dr. Santelises on June 30th, Dr. Jermaine Dawson, into our community. We're excited as a board and thrilled for the opportunity for him to lead city schools, and appreciate the opportunity that will be afforded him for all of you to get to know him and welcome him into our community. I wanted to first begin by expressing just a note of gratitude for our entire community for your participation throughout the process to help us get to yesterday, where we announced our new superintendent, and for the warm, enthusiastic openings that everybody has created for Dr. Dawson and his family as our incoming CEO. Over the past 2 days, Dr. Dawson and members of the board have had the opportunity to visit a number of schools, and so I want to personally thank today the community over at Armistead Gardens, Moravia Park, Elementary Middle School, and Patterson for their generosity in terms of showing Dr. Dawson the ropes, the opportunity to have a little insight and a glimpse into their communities and the culture of their buildings. Just a tremendous opportunity for Dr. Dawson just to get to see the vibrancy of our community. Over the next couple of weeks and into June 30th, he'll have an opportunity to visit even more schools and an opportunity to engage with our community in various different ways. At each stop, we've met with an outpouring of kindness and pride and commitment from our students, our educators, our staff, and our families who have been at the doors to greet, our cheerleaders, our principals, you name it. We appreciate that. Just as an opportunity for folks here tonight to get to know Dr. Dawson a little bit more, we'd like to welcome Dr. Dawson up to the podium, who's in the back. So we'll turn it over to him for just a couple of remarks, and we'll continue.
Well, good evening, Board President Sally, Vice President Parker, to the entire school board of school commissioners, and to CEO Santelises, Dr. Santelises. I am so excited to be here. Over, as you stated, the last 2 days, I have just been just excited about the joy and the wonderful work that is happening here in city schools. And when I got the chance to go and see those schools today, I had to almost stop myself, Board President, because when I went into Patterson today and I saw the students saluting, the cheerleaders were cheering, I had to show them that I still have some moves too, right? And then when the band started playing, it took me back to my days of high school being in the band and playing trumpet. So I had to go over there and do a little march with the students so they can see that I support the arts. And so then over to the next two schools, I was able to go in and see some instruction in the classroom, some very rigorous math instruction. Went into the classroom and saw our Judy Center. I do want to talk about that and engage with some of our parents and them talking about how that program has really helped them to be able to support their students. And so that was just a joy for me that they felt good. And then I asked them that one question, the child going to be in pre-K here? Yes. And then are they going to then matriculate into our schools in kindergarten? They said yes. And so I just want to say quickly, because I don't want to belabor the time, to all of the parents, to all of the students who are here tonight and who are listening, I can't wait to come out into your communities, to hear your voices, to learn from you so that we can continue the wonderful work that has already been done here in city schools under the leadership of Dr. Sonia Santelises. And we're looking to continue to move forward and to make sure that this continues to be a model school district, not only in Maryland, but also in our nation. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to working with this board to make that happen. Thank you.
So much, Dr. Dawson. Before he runs too far away, I just want to make sure any board colleagues want to offer up anything before he leaves this evening. Get some rest. Yep. Get your running shoes on, get them laced up firmly. We're excited to have you come July 1st, so welcome, welcome, welcome. So we'll be making our way on a lot more stops in various places of the city. So we look forward to introducing Dr. Dawson the more and more we make it across Baltimore City. So thank you, Dr. Dawson. I also wanted to take an opportunity just to acknowledge that this week is the MCAP kickoff season. This is the time of year where our young people, along with our educators, have an opportunity to support testing, right, throughout the city. We know that it's a time of great concentration for our young people. We appreciate not only the preparedness that our educators do throughout the year to make sure that we're ready for MCAP, but our families and our community in terms of supporting our young people in getting to school, participating in the assessment, getting plenty of rest, making sure that they have a meal every day to make sure they're ready and prepared. We've got more information on our website on the MCAP assessment and what's to come. So just want to acknowledge that that's happening right now here in our district. So that concludes my very short board chair remarks. I'm going to yield the rest of my time to our student commissioner, Commissioner Chica Guzman.
Good evening, everyone. Hi. I want to start off by thanking everybody who came out to the school board meeting today, and a bigger thank you for everybody else who was also here yesterday for the special CEO board meeting. Shout out to Dr. Dawson, although he just left, for, stepping into this. Oh, hey, shout out to you, Dr. Dawson. For your new position here in City Schools. As we move into this new chapter, it's very crucial for us to remember that we also have to move into new goals and priorities as a district and as a board, and overall making sure that we stay focused on what our students actually need. And tomorrow, if you guys haven't heard already, we're hosting our annual student board forum right here in the boardroom, and it's open to the public, so even if you're not a student, you are more than welcome to come and are still able to. And it's virtual too, so you really don't have a reason not to come. We'll be diving into the board's new focus areas / goals and bringing in diverse community experiences to help build out our district's strategic plan and also support the process of evaluating our next CEO. For students, of course, dinner and transportation, as well as service learning hours will be provided, so please make sure to RSVP using the QR codes on the event flyer that's posted on social media. On other news, we're counting down to the last day of school. However, it also means we're also getting closer to my end, to the end of my term, as a student commissioner. Save the tears for later. And last week, ASCBC actually hosted their Spring General Assembly, where we had our nominating at legislative session. And as an organization, we ratified our Constitution to overall strengthen our accountability, especially around attendance. And we also created new opportunities for student leadership, including our Deputy Chief of Staff position that will be open later in May. I'm personally more excited about the introduction of the Student Commissioner Advisory Council, also known as SCAC. It's going to be like a separate branch from ASCBC, but still connected to them through the application process. This council was proposed by me, and it is designed to support the future student commissioners through appointed student leader positions so that they can take on roles such as social media management, school visit coordinations, as requested by students, communications, and a lot more, just to overall, get more outreach. I propose this again because in my experience, this role can be a little isolating at times, and I wanted to create something that not only supports our SMOB, but it also gives more students real experience and direct involvement in student commissioner work. It'll open more doors for students across the district and expand connections between our board, our schools, and our youth. But most importantly, it paves out an easier transition as students step into this very adult position role and opens doors to more citywide youth outreach. Lastly, we had a second nominating convention. It's really important to me because it's our first constructive back-to-back for students applying for student commissioner. I'm really proud of that because it shows that more students are stepping up and applying for leadership positions. So go student engagement! Let's go! Yeah. And that means, students have overall just more diverse options when it comes to choosing their next leaders. Stay tuned for Thursday, of course, because that's when the official candidates for student commissioner and ASCBC positions will be released. Oh my God! gosh. Yeah, and that's all I have for my comments. Thank you so much.
So I had an opportunity, along with a couple of commissioners, to go to, it was a nominating committee last week. So just wonderful to see our young people who have started to think about filling these huge shoes when Commissioner Chicas Guzman graduates from high school next month or so. But just the energy is really palpable. The excitement is there. So we're excited to see how the election works, but I am saving my tears to June. I'm saving them. So with that, I'm going to transition over to our vice chair to lead us through tonight's public comment.
Yes, good evening. Public comment. I'm trying to keep like the energy. I don't know how exciting public comment is, but I'm trying to keep it going. And now we move into public comment. Public comment is shared by our district recognized groups and the general public. Representatives from our recognized groups will have the opportunity to share public comment first, 5 minutes each. Afterwards, the general public may share. A reminder for all groups and individuals sharing public comment that content regarding personnel decisions that may be subject to appeal cannot be discussed during this portion this evening. So we want to make sure that no employee names, anything that's personnel related is mentioned this evening. So first we have the Associated Student Congress of Baltimore City. I thought Chicas Guzman was going to cheat. We have Benjamin Grimaldi, and he is going to, go then, and he's going to be pre-recorded.
Hello, members of the Baltimore City Public School Board. My name is Benjamin H. Grimaldi, and I serve as the Legislative Affairs Director at the Associated Student Congress of Baltimore City, also known as ASCBC. I'm submitting testimony to the school board on behalf of ASCBC. ASCBC has been very active in the past couple of months. During the legislative session, which ended last Monday, we sent over 100 calls and emails to our state delegates, and we submitted testimony more than 20 times. Our biggest priority during the legislative session was to ensure community engagement in the selection of school board members was preserved by opposing Senate Bill 554. This bill would not only have abolished the community panel, but subjected school board appointees to state confirmation, which would serve to move power from the stakeholders in the school system towards Annapolis and our state senators there. ACBC also hosted our General Assembly on April 16th, just under a week ago. There we had workshops on parliamentary procedure and promoting ASCBC elections. These gave students valuable skills they were able to take back to their SGAs to both promote the elections and ensure they use parliamentary procedure in the meetings of their SGAs. We also voted for 3 finalists for the student commissioner. Our 3 finalists are Courtney Witherspoon, Zion Perrin, and Taylor Freeling Taylor. ACBC is also looking forward to hosting our student board forum on April 22nd. Here, students will be able to voice their opinions on school board policy and future planning to the school board, which is hosting the meeting. ACBC has not been very engaged with the school board this year, so we hope in the future to use our spot at board meetings more often and weigh in more often on school board policy. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you, Ben.
Before you move forward, I just want to comment and thank ASCBC. I can say this year, while they may not have used all their slots here, they have been very active in Annapolis, and so we had an opportunity to see students in action and voicing, their opinion on legislation that was coming through. So that was absolutely amazing to see students use their voice, mobilize, and provide comment. So thank you.
All right, so next we have Nathan Farrell from BTU in person.
Good evening. Okay, happy spring, everybody. Good evening, board commissioners, Dr. Santelises, Nathan Farrell, speaking on behalf of the Baltimore Teachers Union. The Public Employee Relations Board, the PERB, recently ruled that city schools routinely violate state law by refusing to supply legally mandated information to the Baltimore Teachers Union in the necessary time frame, thus stalling our ability to solve staff issues, conduct negotiations in an efficient manner. The violation of the Public Employee Relations Act typifies city schools' leadership and attitude of being above the law, and that undermines trust in the system. We hope that the board is monitoring the required actions by city schools as a result of the PERB's ruling, and we are really hoping you're monitoring the required actions. Tonight, I'm raising 3 issues that require your attention and response. The first is this year's proposed operating budget. There are significant increases to contractual services as a portion of the overall budget. Proposed about $79 million is the proposed increase in contractual services. That does not mean what the actual amount will be. It could be much larger. Please, board members, use your authority to scrutinize these expenditures. The district's over-reliance on costly contracted services is not a pathway forward. City schools far outstrips the largest 5 districts in the state for spending on contracted services as a percentage of its overall budget. And so we want to know what is accounting for these enormous and alarming increases in the contracts. We need you all to deliberate on this matter of increased expenditures in contractual services. The hiring season, it's in full swing. Again, this year, city schools will staff its vacancies by hiring hundreds of eager candidates and will place them on conditional licenses in hopes that they'll adapt, learn, and succeed as teachers. That's been our practice for years. The consequences, though, are that we now have 1,500 teachers on conditional licenses. 1,500 does not include our resident teachers. We're not talking about TFA, BCTR, CTA. We're not talking about our 2-year temporary professional license holders. The 1,500 doesn't include those who are teaching but haven't completed their application online yet, and so they're not on a license yet, and it doesn't include any of the new hires. It also doesn't include the BCTR and TFA and CTA folks who are not going to successfully complete, and they're going to be placed on conditional licenses. BTU members are benefiting from improvements in licensure processes. Shout out to Dana Hopkins and the licensure team. We're getting better processing times. Sarisha, Brigitte, Darian, our expanded high-quality programming for early career teachers. Shout out to the PL office, Dana Collins, Dr. Martin, Christine Bell. Those are positive things. But our instructional experts, our PL team, our licensure analysts, they're not college advisors. They're limited in how they can help conditional license holders navigate enrollment, tuition costs, financial aid, tuition reimbursement, and the testing requirements. 1,500 and growing is the number of educators, and they would benefit from a dedicated licensure program advisor to help our conditional folks achieve professional licensure. Other districts do this, and they have a fraction of the number that we're facing. Recently, BTU proposed practical improvements to tuition reimbursement and program access. City schools rejected our proposals, and the counter-proposal attempted to scale back tuition reimbursement benefits, and you actually carved out CTE teachers altogether. Attempts by this board to cut tuition reimbursement benefits reflects a strategic failure. It perpetuates the constant churn of conditional license holders and increased costs to the district, and it hinders student achievement. We're calling on the board to direct more resources to conditional license holders so that they can become professionally licensed. We're also asking for more scrutiny on alternative pathways like BCTR, TFA, and CTA. It was once, the best option to achieve a professional license, but in recent years, we are really hearing that the programs are not what they used to be. We'll leave it at that. The result is that educators are leaving those programs in debt, and they're landing on conditional licenses. That's the result, with no offboarding and no support. So please, we're asking the board to take partnership or to partner with the BTU so that we can seek some solutions here. Finally, the handling of this year's budget and staffing process, particularly the surplus and so-called strategic transfers, has been unclear and chaotic. It has been plagued by failures similar to last year, chaotic notification process, the conflation of surpluses due to budget shortages versus strategic reassignments, the lack of a central vacancy list, lack of hiring events with timely notification about the hiring events. This doesn't just harm affected staff, it really creates chaos for school leaders who are trying to staff their buildings. These are not abstract problems. This is about whether educators feel valued and supported and respected to stay in city schools. Whether it's through the negotiations process or direct communication with the board, BTU continues to try and engage on these issues. There are enormous benefits to collaborating with the bargaining unit that represents 80% of your employees. Please, there seems to be opposition to anything BTU suggests, even when our recommendations are standard practices from districts across the state, or our request to simply follow state law. We're ready to partner on solutions. We're here, but the partnership requires timely transparency, responsiveness, and a willingness to act with us. And our members are not seeing that right now. So we're looking forward to the end of the school year. We're looking forward to a great start of next school year. And we're not going anywhere. So looking forward to working with you.
Nathan. Third, we will have Kayla Jones, who is joined by pre-recorded video.
My name is Kayla Jones, and on behalf of PCAP's board members, I thank you for the opportunity to provide an update. PCAP is now accepting applications for the upcoming term, and they're inviting members of our community to apply. At this time, PCAP is seeking 1 to 2 new board members who are ready to contribute their perspectives, experiences, and commitment to equity. Ideal candidates are parents or guardians of students in city schools, particularly those attending Title I schools, and individuals who are passionate about supporting student success across our city. Board members attend meetings twice a month, serve on a working committee, and commit to a 2-year term. If you or someone you know is interested in making a meaningful impact at the district level, you are encouraged to apply. Please also help us spread the word so we can make sure there's strong and diverse representation. In order to apply, you can visit the link posted on the flyer, found on PCAP's social media, newsletter, and website, bit.ly/PCAP2628 apply. Please be mindful that this link is case sensitive. The application deadline is May 7th. PCAP's next public meeting will be virtual on Thursday, May 21st at 6:30 p.m. and will be live streamed on YouTube. We invite all families, educators, and community members to join us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, Carl Perry, President of Pizzazza.
Good evening. Greetings, Chair Sally, Vice Chair Parker, honorable board members, and Dr. Sanchelisis. Great to see you all again. It's been a while. Oh, since yesterday, I should say. On behalf of the dedicated members of Pizzazza and the wonderful students that we serve, you did an exceptional job with the hiring of Dr. Dawson. You should be commended. From his track record, our brief meeting yesterday, and the various conversations I've had up to his appointment, I'm confident that he will provide much-needed coaching, structure, and support to our leaders while continuing to serve to ensure accountability to all. I have a relative who always asks me for advice. Me being me, I give it. And it's always from my past experiences. After a while, though, when they ask, I stop giving it. Because if their behavior and their actions don't change, it's just me wasting my time. In the past, I've mentioned how our members are mistreated and simply cast aside at will. District users Annotated Education Code 6201 as an intimidation tactic. They're moved without coaching, moved without support, and any other type of justification aside from 6201. Annually, we have about 7 new principals due to this alone, and not even accounting for resignations. This year, however, is ballooned. We have a great deal of first through third year principals, which is significantly curved, especially for a new administration coming in. All appointments must have board approval, right? To date, 80% of our current resident principals have yet to get a school this year. Last year, 66% of the principals, the new principal hires, were external candidates. We have assistant principals in the candidate pool who aren't even getting a chance to interview. with a new matching or selection process, they're not getting a chance because somebody is not selecting them. The interview before the SFC is Bobby's show, as they only see the 2 candidates who are matched or sent to them. I asked about a pipeline last year. It's evident that we're outsourcing and not preparing enough rising talent in this district while we do not effectively support what we currently have. On top of that, the district continues to freely identify who they want and move them. In some instances, it appears that some of the decisions may have a personal bias. Veteran principals are one prime example. So we're losing systemic historical knowledge. Don't let a person who have been investigated, being found unsubstantiated, a year or 2 later, it still comes up. Don't let the member have asked questions or sounded any type of alarm. Fighting back or advocating for what's not right is even worse for careers. This remains a retaliatory district. It remains a retaliatory district. It seems as though an ILED can merely suggest movement and it will eventually happen. I ask, how many ILEDs have been removed for data or based off the performance of their schools? I don't know of any. Some even may not be courteous, as the district expectation is to be courteous in the employee handbook. I know change is upon us, but at this time we need to look closely at principal assignments, principal movements, and if need be, halt it. We have a new administration coming in. They need the fair chance to come in and set the stage for what they want to do moving forward. If we continue to move people, it's going to leave our district in a very challenging position. Dr. Dawson has plans for his first 100 days, and his plans should not be complicated by all this movement. Moving forward, I look forward to sharing with the board further. Just make sure you're not my relative. Thank you for your time. Have a good night and please be safe.
Have Sheila Phillips, Chair of CCAP.
But I take a moment just to acknowledge and thank Carl, who had the opportunity to engage early superintendent coming yesterday. I hope that all of our groups, our recognized groups, have that opportunity to continue over the next couple of months of meeting the superintendent. Jimmy presents itself.
Greetings to everyone, Dr. Santalese and the school student commissioner. I never acknowledged you before, but you really are agent of change, and I appreciate your energy when I come into the room. I have several things to discuss, but I'll be under 5 minutes. First, I want to talk about the survey, the special education survey that's been coming through the MSD. Please, parents, you have to June the 5th to fill out the survey. I'm going to keep talking about it until they all done. It's very important. We are data-driven. So if you don't speak up and say what you feel, we won't know. And we can't help your student or the school that they attend. Another survey is coming out through the Parent Place of Maryland. I thought it was very interesting. I saw it on in my email. The MSD has a group called the Maryland Future Special Education Work Group. And what they have done was partner with Parent Place of Maryland to hire commissioned the American Institute of Research. It's called AIR, A-I-R. If you go on the Maryland Parent Place of Maryland site, you will see it. But if you don't see it, you can contact Ms. Stephanie Levin, who is the project director. It's anonymous. You're just going to say what you want to say about what's happening with special education. It is very important to do it at this particular time where everything is going. It's very important. It is to help to move this work group into the blueprint of Maryland, to continue to receive the services that the students require and need in order to be successful in life. I attended a PCAP meeting last Thursday, and there was a feedback session on policy IKEA and IKEB. It talks about math and reading retention, how the students are doing in the class. I brought up a question, and in this retention, my question is, what happens when, it's just a thought, what happens when the curriculum change, the math and reading change? Will they still be held in retention, or will they approve it or move it forward? I'm not talking about the children's special education as much as the comprehensive schools. There's something to think about. So sometimes curriculum change, especially when you get new leadership, things change. So we just want to make sure in this change that they won't be held accountable to retaining or removing or held accountable for what they haven't done. Okay. Also, I want to remind you in a couple days, we're going to have our transition fair. It's very important that those who are leaving school or in the last few years of school for special ed, that they attend this wonderful event that's going to be held at the War Memorial Building on the 23rd of April at 10 a.m. through 1 p.m. There's a lot of resources there for you all to check out to move your student forward. Also, the Maryland Youth Leadership Forum is having this annual event at Towson, June 25th through 27th. This is being held by the Maryland Developmental Disability Council. If you're interested, it's very important to attend this event, especially if your child who's have significant needs is going to be living in a community living rather than at home. This place, you need to see, you need to come to. Also, and this is my last statement, I think, our monthly meeting in May, the second Monday of May, we're looking for new members. We need a new board, executive board. So we ask all of those who are interested, have a passion for those who are receiving specialized services, to meet us on the third floor, room 301. Hopefully it'll be virtual, but it definitely will be in person. Come sit down and talk to us. Learn about CCAP. Learn what it's all about. Learn how important it is to advocate for your student or your friend or someone in your community that's needing specialized services. How important is that? Meet us there so we can discuss CCAP, let you know what it's all about, how important it is. I've been sitting here for a little over 10 years in this position to support those with specialized needs. And I'm looking for someone to take over my seat. I will be here to train you and show you what I do and show how you can help. Also, I want to say I wasn't able to attend yesterday because I'm in the school. I'm a nurse as well, so I'm in the school for students. But I felt the energy. I felt the inspiration. I know change is inevitable, but I feel like we're moving forward, and I just want to say that it was a very wonderful, I wish I could have been here, because what I felt seeing it, if I had been here, I know it would have been even more. So thank you all. Appreciate you. Have a great one.
please. This is you brought up two things that I'm really passionate about. So post-secondary transition support for our students with disabilities is something I'm passionate about. It is legally mandated. It is supported by our state. It is critically important in terms of how we think about life for our students with disabilities after high school, making sure that as we're thinking about transition supporting, yes, what does that look like? Living, careers, further education. It's really critically important that parents, our educators, and our community are really involved in that work. I think it's vitally important to making sure that that part of a well-rounded experience supports those students. So I'm grateful that you brought that here again for our community and for the public to be aware of, and the support and the resources that are out and available for that support and planning. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now turn it over to Board Executive Yusuf Ahmad for more public comment.
Good evening, everyone. If you are watching and you submitted a video for this evening, we cannot open that file, so we'll be in touch for you to resubmit that for May the 5th. And again, to repeat the Vice Chair's comments, if you signed up for in-person testimony and your testimony contains information regarding personal decisions that may be or are subject to appeal, that cannot be discussed this evening. So please take a moment, revise your testimony. If you feel that you can't revise it in that fashion, you can feel free to submit your written comments to me. I'll share it with the entirety of the board. With that being said, I'll start by reading a written submission from Wanda Mitchell. Good evening. This is the submission of Wanda Mitchell. I'm the parent of two Baltimore City Public School students. As a longtime City Schools parent and community member, I'm also a member of Baltimore Advocates for Arts Education and a parent and community-driven advocacy group working to ensure that every city student has equitable access to arts education. First, I want to acknowledge and appreciate the district's recent efforts to increase transparency around school budgets. The new online tool allows families to view individual school budget summaries, is an important step forward. It gives parents and community members a clear window into how resources are distributed. As families begin exploring these budget summaries, one question quickly surfaced. What guidance is being used to develop these school budgets in the first place? According to the district's budget presentation, schools receive materials to guide budget development. These include a roadmap, district priorities, requirements checklist, and reference materials that help school leaders determine how their budget should be structured. However, these guidance materials do not appear to be publicly available. Without access to the framework used to build school budgets, families cannot see the outcome of these decisions and are not in the process behind them. Public budget summaries show what was funded, but they do not help families understand how decisions were made or what constraints schools may be working with. Access to this guidance helps families understand how decisions affect staffing, programs, and school opportunities across the city. Making these budget guidance materials publicly accessible would be a meaningful step in strengthening transparency and community engagement. When families understand the guiding principles that schools are working from, including required expenditures, district priorities, and areas where schools have flexibility, they can participate more constructively. This kind of transparency benefits everyone. Our request is simple. Please make the school budget development guidance publicly available on the district website so families can better understand the framework behind these school budget decisions. Thank you. Next, we have an email submission from Anaya Robinson. Good evening. I appreciate this opportunity to share some opinions that I've compiled in my experience as a social work intern in a Baltimore City public school. A college student from the University of Baltimore and an older sibling of current Baltimore City students. To be frank, the experience and research-based knowledge surrounding the current internet use in K-12 and higher education is worrisome to say the least. AI has now entered the chat on top of the perpetual issues regarding circumventable website blocking, software, HIPAA compliance, privacy concerns in district databases, and the enforcement of technology usage restrictions in schools. In an era where schools are fighting what some call a literacy epidemic, the Department of Education has been dismantled and teachers are leaving the profession at an alarming rate. AI use is a double-edged sword pointed towards students and teachers alike. In many of our schools, devices are replaced in textbooks, and teaching is inarguably a hybrid format that forces entire school communities to get with a program. Many benefits have come from this rapid evolution, such as programs to widen access to the internet, a boom in virtual resource utilization, and students' rapid and individualized feedback on their work. Yet when students are not taught how to use this new feature, especially those as controversial and universal as AI, we get generational gaps in knowledge. I urge you now to consider how rampant generative AI is and how it is utilized to plagiarize, to rewrite students' written submissions, and to simplify assignment topics. We are in desperate need of academic and experience-informed statements to the public, to teachers, to parents, and to how students about how outsourcing thinking to AI can harm their critical thinking and rationality, despite the apparent usefulness in time-consuming tasks. Thank you again, Anaya Robinson. And lastly, John Schwartz in person. And again, I'll refer back to my original comments and the Vice Chair's comments about in-person testimony and the subject material. If you would rather submit it as written submission, that would be fine as well.
Yeah, I just want to speak on behalf of Highlandtown 215. I was a math interventionist at BIA for 5 years, coached flag football and basketball after school year-round. Also did safety patrol, helped direct traffic in the morning and afternoon. The principal that I'm here to discuss was the assistant principal at BIA at the time when I worked there. He then became the principal at Highlandtown, hired me to teach 5th grade math and coach soccer and basketball. Earlier this year, he was placed on leave and then was later cleared of accusations. But recently there's been like some unusual emails going around the staff and rumors and things that he may be removed. Yeah.
All of this may be subject to appeal, so I would suggest that you work with submit this as written testimony and circulate with the
Gotcha.
revised.
Okay. Yeah, we just wanted to spread some good vibes about the individual and just say, but yeah. So you want me to email you instead? Okay.
That concludes public comment.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. The board will review all public comment that's submitted in writing, and appreciate everybody who's turned out for public comment this evening. I want to move forward our agenda this evening for our approval of the employment and payroll and appeals and hearings, the quasi-judicial matters of the board. Is there a motion to approve the pack of quasi-judicial matters this evening?
So moved, Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. Is there a second?
Second, Ames Messenger.
Thank you, Commissioner Ames Messenger. All in favor? Vice Chair Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Ames Messenger?
Yes.
Commissioner Coyle?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Mohammed? Commissioner Scott Woodruff?
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons? Commissioner, are you approving or abstaining from the Okay. For approval, yes. So sorry, missed that. Commissioner Slater-Harrington? Yes. And I'm in favor. This motion passes. Thank you. Now, I have the opportunity to turn it over to Dr. Santelises for CEO comment with more details on the PEP.
Thank you very much, Chair Sally. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Oh, that's so nice. It's wonderful to be here this evening. I'm going to invite Chief Emily Nielsen for this evening's PEP agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises. Good evening, board commissioners. Good evening. If you are on tonight's PEP, when I read your name, if you could stand up so that we can acknowledge you. From the Office of the Chief of Schools, appointments. Recommended that Alyssa DeJean, currently Assistant Principal at Morgan-Feller Vocational Technical High School, be appointed Assistant Principal at Claremont School, effective June 27th, 2026. Recommended that Dominique Solomon, currently assistant principal at Dorothea Height Elementary Middle, be appointed assistant principal at North Bend Elementary Middle effective June 27th, 2026. Recommended that Joshua Pittman, currently principal at Heritage High School, Rockdale County Public Schools, be appointed principal at Edmondson Westside High School effective June 27th, 2026. Recommended that Karen Lancaster, currently Educational Associate 10-month at Collington Square Elementary Middle, be appointed Assistant Principal at Collington Square Elementary Middle, effective June 27, 2027. Recommended that Linda Davis, currently Assistant Principal at Baybrook Elementary Middle School, be appointed Assistant Principal at Callaway Elementary School, effective June 27, 2026. Recommended that Natasha Henderson, currently coordinator 9th grade on track to graduate at Digital Harbor High School, be appointed assistant principal at Digital Harbor High School, effective June 27th, 2026. Recommended that Samantha Hutchins, currently principal resident at Franklin Square Elementary Middle School, be appointed principal at Cecil Elementary School, effective June 27th, 2026. And finally, recommended that Cedric Smith, currently principal at Falstaff Elementary Middle School. Be appointed principal at Baltimore City College, effective June 27, 2023. Congratulations to everyone on tonight's PEP agenda.
We love it. So, as has become our practice, I am going to read a little blurb on each candidate. I do want to say this, how wonderful it is to see so many principal candidates from our pipeline that did not exist 10 years ago. It is wonderful. It is also wonderful to see people promoted from within city schools for the work that they have done. It is also wonderful to see leadership entering schools for people who are not afraid to move data, right? Who are not about just sitting in a seat, but actually moving the school. We have Ben Mosley with us, who's cheering, because Ben Mosley knows it's not just about being a veteran. It is not just about being in your seat for a long time, is it, Dr. Mosley? No, sir. It is about actually moving, teaching, and learning for young people. So I am proud that we as a district are turning over a slate of principals who are not afraid of taking on the challenges of high achievement, who do not make excuses, be it at the elementary school level or the high school level, about why young people don't achieve. I am proud that our pipeline has a new breed of leader that says we can love children, but we teach them. So with that, I am proud to read the mini profiles of the current slate of strong leaders of Baltimore City Public Schools. First, Dr. Cedric Smith was... Go ahead, baby. Dr. Cedric Smith was most recently principal of Falstaff Elementary Middle School. He is a proud graduate of Baltimore City College, where he also worked for 16 years. He also serves as an adjunct professor at Loyola University, Maryland, where he trains and supervises early career teachers. Dr. Smith earned his PhD in Language, Literacy, and Culture from UMBC in 2020 with a focus on education and media studies. Congratulations, Dr. Smith. And I would also like to commend a long-standing veteran principal who also embraced high achievement, who is with us tonight. The current principal for what? What do you got? 2 weeks? Just got 2 weeks? Principal Cindy Harcum. Thank you, Principal Harcum, for your leadership. Now I'm going to keep going because the board chair is going to tell me you cannot take this much time all night long. Next, we have Dr. Joshua Pittman, who comes to us from Rockdale County Public Schools in Georgia, where he served as the principal of Heritage High School. He also held various school administrative positions for 10 years in Griffin Spalding County School, and as a special education and CTE teacher for 7 years in the Metro Atlanta area. Dr. Pittman holds a doctoral degree in educational leadership from Kennesaw State University. Congratulations, Dr. Pittman. Ms. Samantha Hutchins previously served as resident principal, that's right, a resident principal who's become a principal, at Franklin Square Elementary Middle School. She began her career through the Baltimore City teaching residency. Principal Hutchins holds a bachelor's degree in business administration with a minor in Spanish from Salisbury University, a Master of Science in Educational Studies from Johns Hopkins University, and an Organizational Leadership Admin 1 certificate from Towson University. Congratulations to Principal Hutchins. And somebody will have to tell me, I hope this is last. We have Mrs. Karen Lancaster, who brings over 20 years of experience in education to her new position. She previously served as an educational associate supporting instruction, operations, and school-wide systems. Principal Lancaster is a graduate of City Schools. She earned her bachelor's degree, master's degree, and administrative certification from Coppin State University. Go Coppin! And we have some new generation Coppin students up front. Master's degree and administrative certification, all from Coppin State University, and continues to grow as a leader through data-driven practices. Congratulations, Principal Lancaster. Congratulations, everyone, to all of our new leaders. I know Dr. Dawson took a well-earned break after a busy day of visiting schools. I just want to say again, kudos to our Board of Commissioners. They've done exemplary work that's recognized nationally in terms of selecting the next CEO. I will tell you, I've had my first few meetings with Dr. Lawson, and I think he is bringing the energy that many people have already felt, that I know the board chair has expressed in his comments. We are working together, which is wonderful, for him to have all the information that he needs as he is visiting schools, but also as he gets background data. And I just want to say it is wonderful to be in a city and in a school district to experience this type of transition that I know is going to continue to put our district not only on solid ground, but to go to the next level of growth. So I want to thank, again, the board for that, and welcome to Dr. Dawson again, even though he is getting well-earned rest from the day. And then finally, I'm extremely pleased to congratulate our 10 semifinalists for the title of Baltimore City Schools Teacher of the Year. Okay? So our 10 semifinalists this year are Brandon A. Booth, Choral Director at Connections, a community-based art school. Torian L. Carter, Library Media Specialist at Cross Country Elementary Middle School, and Robert W. Coleman Elementary. Yu Tung Jill Chen, Chinese language teacher at Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. I know you're trying up there, City. I know you're trying. Come on now. Dr. Otis Eldridge, band director and music teacher at Hamilton Elementary Middle. Jen Haley, pre-kindergarten teacher at Highlandtown Elementary Middle School. Jenna Porter, middle school visual art and photography teacher at Roland Park Elementary Middle School. Megan Smith, kindergarten teacher at Mary Ann Winterling Elementary School. Sabrina Sully, special education and gifted and advanced learning teacher at Patterson Park Public Charter School. And then we'll round it out with Darylyn Tyson, computer science, homeland security, and CTE teacher at Digital Harbor High School. And then Hannah Ward, fourth grade elementary teacher at New Song Academy. Congratulations to our 10 semifinalists. These are amazing educators that are part of a dynamic city schools tradition. In the past 11 years, we have had 5 city schools teachers of the year that have gone on to become the Maryland Teacher of the Year. That is more than any district in the state. And 4 more city schools teachers of the year have been finalists for Maryland Teacher of the Year. Congratulations to all of our semifinalists, and thanks to all of our teachers for your hard work and dedication to our young people. And then I'll close out by just reminding everyone that enrollment for select summer learning programs opened earlier this month in Campus Portal. Programs run Monday through Thursday from June 29th through July 30th and are open to every grade level, pre-K through high school. Most programs are free for city school students who attend a traditional school. Charter school students should check with their school for summer opportunities, and SALA programs are available to students at Title I charter schools. Additional information can be found on our website. And Chair Sally, that concludes my remarks for this evening.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I just want to just take a point of privilege here, too. I know normally most of the personnel things are in your lane, but I want to take an opportunity to honor Alicia Manning, if she's here. Have her stand. So, Alicia is transitioning. Am I understanding? Am I doing this right? After 20 years of service here in Baltimore City Public Schools, 23. I need to get that right. That shows a tremendous amount of commitment to our young people. That is an amazing career. I want to thank you for your service to our young people. Those are huge shoes to fill, and that huge heart for our young people goes just such a long way. So we appreciate your service. Everybody, join us in a round of applause. All right. Oh, yes. And I'm going to have you use the mic because we can't hear you.
I started my career sitting in the back of Principal Manning's class when she was teaching kindergarten. Right, I ran after-school program at Cecil, and I hid out in her classroom to get my day started. And it's just amazing to see your journey, our journey, right? And I'm just so appreciative of you and all the work that you've done for the children of Baltimore, let alone the children of Cecil. I don't know if you guys ever been to Cecil and seen the program and the performances and all the things that are Principal Manning. Love you.
So I hate to be the one to bring us into business stuff now for the rest of the evening, but it's wonderful an opportunity to celebrate our personnel who are stepping up, who are leading, and those folks who have made deep commitments here in Baltimore City. Now to turn us to our consent agenda for the evening. I'll now review items. Board colleagues, please let me know if you'd like an item removed, and please state your question for staff. Some folks are going to be transitioning. That's totally fine. You guys are fine. Yes.
The whole audience. You're gonna miss all the fun. Finally
All right. So as folks are transitioning out, let me just bring up the two items for our board colleagues. It's 12.01. It's the Fine Arts Extended Learning Services, the Fund for Educational Excellence, Alley Camp Baltimore Contract Extension. That was a lot of words. 12.02 is the Academic Enrichment Extended Learning Services Arts for Learning Maryland Inc. contract. It's an increase in extension. Do any board colleagues want either of those two items pulled? Hearing none, I'm going to transition us forward in the agenda to item 6.01, information discussion for FFA, renaming of Reginald F. Lewis High School campus proposal. I'm going to welcome Dr. Shauna Williams, principal, and Holly Bedwell from the Office of Achievement and Accountability. And I've had an opportunity to visit Reginald F. Lewis. I appreciate the warm receptivity every time I come to the campus. And it's just wonderful to see the work that's transpiring there, and appreciate your leadership as well.
And one of the largest increases.
Yes, ma'am.
In high school literacy MCAP.
Right.
Graduation rate. And graduation rate.
Thank you.
That's commendable.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Santelises, Board School Commissioners. My name is Holly Bedwell. I'm with the Office of Achievement and Accountability. I'm joined this evening by Dr. Shawnette Williams, Principal of Reginald F. Lewis. This evening, we are sharing a proposal for the renaming of Reginald F. Lewis High School of Business Law and Agriculture under Board Policy FFA. This proposal aligns with Board Strategic Priority 5. City schools will provide equal access to district services, resources, and facilities to ensure the success of all stakeholders. As well as Priority 7, city schools will continuously work toward equity at all levels by implementing policies, practices, and procedures that create a welcoming and inclusive environment for all. I'll pass it to my colleague.
Your computer in the middle phone, please.
Yes, just 1 second. We're just going to make sure our audience is a little finer. There we go. All right.
So I'll just briefly explain. So Reginald, the goal is to rename Reginald Lewis High School. The alumni, the Northern alumni, they approached this, the principals about, having their name reestablished with the school on the
the building. And so as a community partner and the principal of the school, I listened to our community partners to give them a voice. And so I submitted the FFA form. After we did that, the Northern alumni discussed that they would like their legacy to be restored. And, as I said, as a principal who gives voice to everybody who kind of participates in the process and who are partners, then I submitted the form. Based on that, we have followed the process with the guidelines of Ms. Bedwell Benson, and there were several names that were submitted, and we finalized on 2 names. So the 2 names that are under consideration are simply keeping at Reginald F. Lewis High School. Prior to that, it was Reginald F. Lewis High School for Business, Law, and Agriculture. And the second one is Reginald F. Lewis High School at the Northern Campus. During that process, we're presenting to the board that we have followed the guidelines of the FFA board policy, and so these are the community efforts that we did. In December, we convened a renaming committee. We had the Northern alumni, they supported our Black History Month luncheon as one of the partners. In March, we had a public forum, and in April, we convened a tea party and invited them also to be a part of the process. And this tea party was a part of what the renaming committee had decided that's something that we could do. We continue to promote the process since the decision to submit the form, and in the areas of we've done so through the community, the Y community newsletter. We have also submitted the names to the public in general. We have posted it in our in-house newsletter that goes out every week, our weekly newsletter. We have discussed it at FFC meetings monthly. We have posted the information on Instagram and on the school's webpage, and we also make school announcements every day. Our students make announcements every day about the process, and also we have done robocalls to parents as well as send letters home to parents about it. So those are the efforts that we made for the community engagement.
And so that brings us to this evening, where we are here sharing the proposal with the board and the public under the policy. Concurrently, we're also at step 5. Students, staff, and the school and the larger community are actually voting this week. They will continue voting through the end of the week. The votes will be tallied next week, and then we will share the results of the vote along with the principal's recommendation at the board meeting on May 19th. Open it up if you have any questions.
Thank you so much for your agenda. Any questions from board colleagues this evening? Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. It's very thorough, engaging, and have the opportunity for the community engagement. I think it's robust to have the community have a say so and what the meeting will be. So look forward to carrying that forward. See y'all soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good night. I'd now like to welcome up Dr. Place Jose and team from the school's office for policy JICF, Schools Saved Act of 2010, destructive or illegal group behavior, its first reader policy this evening.
Good evening, commissioners, Dr. Santelises, staff, members of the public, both online and in the room. My name is Dr. Stacy Place Jose, currently serving as the Chief of Schools, and I'm joined this evening with my colleagues, Dr. Sabree Barnes, Director of Student and School Operations Support. That's her to my left. And to my right, I have Jeffrey Shorter, our Chief of School Police. This evening, we come before you to present changes to policy JICF, suspected criminal gang-related activity. Our agenda this evening, One person we can't forget who is online, Jonathan Turner. He is not in the room, but he is supporting us online. He is the manager of special projects. So I have to give him a shout out. All right, so our agenda for this evening, we will be talking about our current initiatives. We will review our proposed revisions for your consideration and also the stakeholder feedback that we engaged in. This is in alignment with board priorities 4 and 7. And at this time, I'll pass it over to Dr. Barnes.
Thank you, Chief Tozay. Board Policy JICF adheres to the Safe Schools Act of 2010. And here you can see the legal authorities, state guidance, and key features. And there are several sections of the law that intersects as it relates to this policy. Next slide, please. Here you will find the definition of a criminal gang, which has very specific meaning under Maryland law. We want staff to understand what type of behavior is prohibited so that students are not unjustly disciplined for behavior that is not criminal activity and thus not prohibited under the policy. And at this time, I will pass it over to my colleague, Chief Jeffrey Shorter.
In the school year, child welfare modules will address the alleged suspected gang. The violence intervention initiatives include school-based programs such as grade care and student-led school safeties. There's also a collaboration with the criminal intelligence and investigative units to identify any new trends and updates on local and related impacts. In addition to safe passage programs on success. Leader rises, let's say high-risk mediation school needs host these meetings at school needs headquarters to ensure a safe and respectful process. Next slide.
We are proposing these revisions to ensure that we align with best practices and existing policy and protocols. Also to provide updated practices and references and provide clarification as it relates to the reporting and investigatory processes for schools. Next slide, please. We took a look at comparable or similar districts as it relates to demographics and population. The districts benchmarked included all Maryland districts, DC, Chicago, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Austin, and Charlotte. Most of the non-Maryland districts do not have an explicit gang policy, but the information is embedded in their student codes of conduct or policies for school safety. We also noted some best practices from other Maryland districts and included them in our proposed revisions. Next slide, please. We've made proposed changes to ensure alignment with some of our existing practices. There's updated language that speaks to the requirement of recording investigations into the city schools incident reporting workflow. There's also updated reporting and investigative language that aligns with the city schools all staff training materials. Next slide, please. There is an addition of language about city schools collaboration with the Baltimore City Police Department and other law enforcement agencies when there is a report of an ongoing threat of criminal gang-related violence that appears to be credible and accurate. Also, there is an addition of language about services that are provided to students, and we are constantly working cross-collaboratively across offices to identify strategies that schools should use to combat gang-related activity. Examples include dress code enforcement, graffiti removal, and the management of physical building safety. Next slide, please. There will be updates to language about supports and services that remove outdated references and reflect the resources that city schools actually uses. There's updated references to city schools office and employees and updated language about criminal gang-related records that reflect the use of electronic record keeping and the cross-reference requirement to share select criminal gang-related records with other LEAs as required by COMAR. Next slide, please.
proposed forms and process amendments include updating reporting and investigatory steps. If approved, these forms and instructions will be accessible on docs. There are 3 specific forms that must be utilized in this process. Forms 1, 2, and 3 be by the principal, their designee, and school police. Form 1 initiates the process, which will be completed by the principal designee. Suspected gang activity is observed. Form 2 will be completed by the principal, their designee, and forwarded to the school police. School police will review the information and complete the validation process to establish law enforcement protocol. Form 3 will be completed by the principal, which will document the school's response to include investigative steps, interventions, supports, and final determinations regarding a violation of policy JICF. Policy moves from reporting to law enforcement validation, school-based investigation, response, ensuring both safety and policy compliance. In the event evidence warrants an escalated law enforcement presence, school police will collaborate with its partners to address any incidents as necessary. Next slide. These requested updates will improve role clarity, procedural consistency, and coordination across overlapping investigations, strengthening both compliance.
Pull your mic.
Both compliance, is that better? Both compliance and student safety outcomes, while building meaningful relationships with internal and external stakeholders. Next slide.
All right, here is a summary of our stakeholder engagement groups and the methods that we have used to date. Given the significance of these revisions, we have categorized this as a Tier 3 update, which required broad stakeholder outreach. We shared draft revisions with a wide range of groups, including advisory boards, student groups, labor unions, principals, charter operators, and advocacy organizations. The draft was also posted publicly on the City Schools website to allow for additional feedback. We are still making connections, and thus far we have received limited requests for presentations, and with only one group providing written input. Next slide, please. Here you will find key questions that emerged from our stakeholder engagement, more specifically from the Parent and Community Advisory Board. In particular, I want to highlight how the proposed revisions to the regulation list the services that we provide. And another question is centered on what supports are available for students who are involved in or impacted by gang activity. We directed the stakeholders to Administrative Regulation JICFRA, Section 2, which outlines a range of supports, including services for students who are confirmed at risk or impacted by gang-related activity. Next slide, please. All right, on this slide, we summarize feedback from the PTA Council of Baltimore City. The council expressed general agreement with the proposed revisions. They also recommended that the policy include language addressing protections for staff who report concerns specifically around retaliation or intimidation. In response, we strengthened the language in the administrative regulation to emphasize confidentiality and limit discourse of the identity of individuals reporting suspected gang activity. This ensures that staff can report concerns safely and confidentially. Next slide, please. The policy revision process followed a structured, multi-step timeline. Initial revisions were presented to the policy committee, and then was just followed up with continued refinement. Some of the key milestones include our October 28th framing conversation with the policy committee, followed by our February 24th initial presentation of revisions to the policy committee. And today we're here for our first reader, and our second reader will be on May the 19th. Overall, the timeline demonstrates a deliberate process to ensure review, feedback, and alignment before final approval. Next slide, please. All right, we have come to an end. We thank you all so much, and we are open for questions.
Dr. Barnes and team for comments. Any questions from our colleagues?
Yes, thank you. Great presentation, but I do have a quick question.
I see I got you.
Considering that our young people exist outside of our buildings, right? Thinking about this particular.
Commissioner, because the mics are kind of sensitive this evening, we need to make sure everyone else is closer to you.
Don't worry, sir. Mine wasn't working right. Come sit next to y'all. No. I just wanted to know when you raise the stakeholder engagement, right? Did you consider, or are you considering, the conversation that you might want to have with MOCFS and MONSI as well? Just thinking about how and where our young people exist, right? Like, it's not just the school building at the harbor and all the other places that they are. So I would just suggest maybe you have some conversation with those folks as well, because they might just kind of add to it. Yeah, that's it. So the MONSI piece, I addressed that with the safe passage. So it's okay. I understand. It's been a long day for all of us, right? So, I work hand in hand, and the team, we share information exclusively with MONSI, whether it's the peace team, whether it's movement team, we are us. We speak with those. Okay, so we'll add them to the slides, but we work with them, and Dr. Brooks is an amazing partner. Like, before Safe Passage started, my predecessor, Major Coleman, she worked with him to just get it kicked off the ground. But since then, she and I have worked on the process of identifying schools for the Safe Passage program. So the feedback that we get from them, as well as community stakeholders regarding this policy, because they give us information, so that's reported. So on the weekends, we work with MONSI for the downtown youth engagement on Fridays and Saturdays. So Stephanie Mavronis, we speak weekly, and then they have a meeting on Tuesday where we talk about upcoming weekend events. So we're working now with to develop a contract with MONSI in reference to the weekend engagement. They have like 52 summer engagements that we're involved in. So I'll make sure I add it and send this policy to them for review as well. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm going to go Commissioner Kenyatta, and I'll come back.
Yes. No operator error. I'm sorry. I just got voice carries. Hey, the question I have deals with our collaboration. There's a gang task force that is, and I want input from them. They were Baltimore City Police. Now, I gather that we in Baltimore City schools have a more accurate and up-to-date profiling, because the profiling of gangs and what causes gangs to occur has modified. It hasn't changed totally at its root. But in investigating and your updating, I wanted to know whether or not you've reached into looking at what creates them now. I can't remember when it was. It was chairman of the Baltimore City Grand Jury, and worked with gang profiling at that time. I know it's changed since then, because it was kind of behind this times now. We have more resource in getting that information from actual schools, from actual, on the ground information. Yeah, I'm so glad to have our partners that have the questions as to what is this going to look like. But do we have a profile of what it does look like? And I think you get those more from those school communities that are on the ground. I just put that out as a suggestion.
You want to?
Okay. So we work exclusively with BPD's intel. So to give you an example, we had several incidents over Patterson High School. So I reached into the resources, and we did multiple interventions with the two opposing groups. We work, even if, Principal Maverick says something is aberrant, we get the teams together and go over, whether it's Patterson, Dunbar, Digital, the schools that have been identified with potential issues, we do that. But we have to be careful about profiling and labeling our students as gang members. So part of the form that we use, the validation form, we keep that form, and it's confidential. So it's just because you're in a gang today doesn't mean you're in a gang tomorrow. And it's not a crime to be in a gang. It's the criminal activity related to that. So as a result, we just don't want to lump them all together.
we do use the resources, but it's only with FERPA. You know, I get caught with that FERPA a lot. I don't like that. That's my friend now, but FERPA. So we take that seriously. So some of the stuff we can't share with BPD, but we take their information, and we have with DJS. I do a weekly meeting with Youth of Concern, which we talk about potential gang activity. It's a robbery meeting that occurs every week, and we do monthly meetings with MTA in reference to potential gang activity on the public transportation. So we're heavily involved with the profiling and the development of potential gangs. And as the name changes, because one day it's the Bloods, next day it's the Bunny Boys, right? So we get all of that. So we on it.
Okay, and like I said, one of the reasons that this case on the ground changes.
Right.
And if we're devising policies that don't look at the current situation or is looking forward into how it's changing or where it can go, well, then we're just, devising a policy that's kind of stagnant with its time. So we need to be looking forward. I like the fact that, there are three aspects that you really consider, and identifying gang activity. And none of it is profiling. It has to be a combination to make that happen. So thank you for your work. I just wanted to throw that out there because it is a very big concern of mine.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
I think that one thing that we have done to equip school leaders, a school leader's job is not to validate whether or not a child is in the gang based on you saw 10 kids that decide to wear the same green hat to school. That is why we have experts, we have school police, work very closely with other law enforcement agencies. But we do encourage principals, if they see something, we have a incident reporting workflow that has an option for them to report the information, and then that information is passed along to the experts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Slater-Harrington. I'm sorry, Commissioner Scott Woodward.
Good evening, and thank you for the presentation. Around the proposed changes for clarifying reporting and investigation process, can you speak to what extent is social media play into this information coming to your team, and how has that influenced any of the proposed changes?
So that's part of the investigation process. So it's suspected or alleged or gang activity. So I have open door policy with all of the principals and staff across the city. So if they see something that they don't know, I get floods and tons of emails like, what is this? So it doesn't necessarily start with the form. It can start with a conversation. I say, this is something you need to put on a form. Send it to me. I'll look at it and let you know. If I need to come to the school to look at it a little closer, send one of my, I have an intelligence officer to go to this particular school to see if it's spray paint. If it is a social media post, we're working closely with BPD. Say, I can't figure this part out. I send it to that criminal intel section. Can you find the owner or operator of this? Where did this come from? Share that information. There's some other stuff that I don't want to talk about in the open public, but we work hard to try to identify any kind of information related to social media.
Thank you. Commissioner Messenger?
I have a quick follow-up question around the incident referral form and just kind of the workflow so that comes from school-based staff over to school police, and then what's kind of the data reporting closeout cycle?
All right, Jonathan.
Good evening. Yep.
Jonathan, this is a twist. Usually Jonathan is moving slides, but he has done a lot of work around setting up this structure. So Jonathan, do you want to share how the sausage is made?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Barnes. Good evening, commissioners. Good evening, Dr. Sanalisis. So to answer your question, Commissioner Messenger, anytime an incident comes in, the school manager and the ILED for the CLN in which the school involved in the incident reside in, they get the initial notifications along with Director Barnes, school police, and Deputy Moore. So they get all initial notifications. And then from there, based on the type of incident that we receive, the school manager then follows up with the school to ensure that all of the details that have been submitted are accurate and correct. Once the school manager verifies the details, they go in and approve it. We use a smart sheet at the moment during this pilot year with it. They go in and approve it, and from there, we then will connect with the next office that may need to, or offices that we may need to include to provide an update. So if it were gang related, again, the school police would get the initial notification, but then we could also forward it once it's been approved by the school manager to Major Ellis to get an additional update.
And so just to confirm, ultimately it'll be the school manager's job to close out that cycle on follow-up? Like the final sign-off is with the school manager?
No. The final sign-off is with Deputy Moore and Director Barnes. So once the update comes in, the next step in the workflow is that it goes to them to show what the update is, and then we close out from there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And then kind of a brief follow-up question on that was just looking, I appreciated the professional development in our start of the year modules, looking at really a strong tier 1 introduction to this. I appreciated just clearly a lot of thought went into that. I'm thinking looking at what those tier 3 and tier 3 interventions specifically. So looking at school manager, looking at, like school police, we're assuming that there's quite a bit of professional development that's going into this, but other people listed in that chain of command that are interacting with this checklist, like what is the professional development and training that goes into the other individuals, realizing that might not be within the professional experience of a school manager, for example, to get to that point. So I guess, like, what is the ongoing effort around education, both in identification, treatment, intervention, that's happening to other people within that?
I'm gonna throw my part in there real quick. Summer leadership, I'm gonna hit this pretty hard with summer leadership because it's important, especially with the new principals being onboarded. The new school year, and as trends change throughout the year, in particular this summer, it can just change overnight. So it's important that we give those, like, what is a gang, right? What does it look like? What does paraphernalia look like? What should you do? Who should you call? So those are the things that we're going to add into the summer leadership, if we mind, course of instruction with policy JICF.
I'd just like to add that we could definitely do a better job of adding more trainings throughout the year. Last year, we did have a partnership with Baltimore Police Department, and they were co-facilitating with school police sessions for our principals. So we need to get back to doing that on a more regular basis. So I think that's one of the things that we can do. And then also with the groups of people that, like our managers, our ILEDs, because we were focusing on school leaders, but then we had assistant principals, hall monitors, like all support staff coming. So then the sessions were getting too big, so we want to make sure that we're tailoring them appropriately. So that will be something, because the June leadership will be the kickoff for new leaders, and then for the remainder of the year, we can make sure we have things more quarterly.
I think just that there's a critical concern both about over-identifying as well as under-identifying. And so, like, a key piece of that is how are we equipping staff on the ground to make those assessments, and using the incredible work of our equity office and looking at bias as well as, like, observational skills. And part of that is, like, how are we equipping staff, like you were saying, when they see something to say something. And so, like, how are we putting in those supports for a really wide cross-section of people interacting with our students. So thank you for your work and thoughtfulness on this.
And when we come back in May, we'll make sure to include that in the presentation for you.
One thing that concerns me, and this is something that I guess has been inbred in us, and that is the safeguards we put in here for misidentification. I mean, you especially, with certain communities. Yeah, my community, Hispanic communities, and stuff like that. I'm seeing this on a day-to-day basis in school. So when people see something and say something, sometimes it's painted by their vision of the world or how the world has been painted for them. How are we training people to be, I guess, more inclusive, more, I gather, discriminating and not making sure that we're not discriminating? Because I would like to see the numbers and how those numbers weigh, and against what communities or for what communities. So I think it's a real question that we really do need to take into consideration, because, and bada boom, bada bing.
And kind of to follow up on what Commissioner Kiana Bay has said was, how comfortable are students as well with, sharing information like that to gang-related activity. Something I wanted to add on to that. But apart from that, out of curiosity, I was just wondering, when it comes to the forms, why is it mainly and primarily principals that are filling out these forms? And another question was, on slide 16, it talks about the summary of stakeholder engagement. There's a last part with a lot of different associations that they also provide feedback, but just didn't. Yeah, did they provide feedback and it was just written? I just wanted to clarify that real quick.
So some of the groups listed, we've actually done presentations for. So last week we presented to the Equity Advisory Group. Yeah. We also presented to some charter operators last week. We're also doing another presentation for operators this Thursday. So we've been presenting to organizations who have requested presentation.
Okay. They have to request it in order to get the presentation?
Yes, it's offered. Okay. So you can either request the presentation and or provide written feedback.
Okay.
Commissioner Chicas Guzman, do you think there's an opportunity to source more feedback that would help make sure that we have gathered all perspectives?
Yeah, I was just wondering, outside of organizations, if we could also go to schools, where we see this policy will probably take more effect on, to get feedback from those schools, maybe some sort of town hall, because, there's still sometimes, some students may not know as much about the topic if they're not as involved, or if it doesn't happen in their environment as much. And I just feel like it's really important for us to also kind of get feedback from the students who are directly experiencing it, and inform them about this policy revision, and kind of just educate them, that this is going on and there are resources to help them. So, yeah.
Thank you for the feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't want to lose sight of the first question that Commissioner Chicas Guzman asked about, why primarily is it school leaders that are filling out the forms?
Yes.
So
because they go ahead, guys. So because they see the information more times than not first, they interact with our students more so than anybody else. They spend more time with them. So when they get the information, they have the credible messengers within the school communities. They have the students. They have the community members who say, hey, because it's only so many students that we collaborate with, and if it's in the school, but we don't have a school police officer. So then we rely on those that relational equity that we've built throughout the school system to say this is where it starts. It's just the it's the initiation process. So we don't have enough staff to be in every school that it begins. So once it begins, if we can identify that if it's a community-based issue, they can report it to the school, they can report it to us. So, maybe on our website, as we rebuild our website, rebrand school police website, this could be a great policy to put, or a link to this policy on our website.
So am I hearing you would like to know how students can report information, and why is it just isolated to the principal? We're just trying to make sure we're answering your question.
Why? It was just out of curiosity. Why is it specifically leaders?
Okay.
And just maybe a little bit of, would students be able to anyway, in case, something escalated?
Okay. I mean, and I don't want to belabor the point. One of the reasons why.
I can add something.
Cousin Barnes, I didn't think you were right here.
Sorry to put you off so much.
No, you're fine. Just on the point about why the reporting language is specifically about principals. So as Dr. Barnes mentioned at the beginning, we are required to have a policy about gang activity through a state law. And so a lot of the requirements about reporting come from that state law. And one of those is that the reports have to be made to the school principal, and then the school principal, collaborates with other entities like school police to do the investigation and the follow-up. But the law and the policy revisions also explain that, if a student has information, if a community member has information, if a teacher has information, they share that information with the principal, and then the principal starts that formal reporting and investigation process. So there are other ways of the information getting to the principal, if that helps clarify that.
Okay, then I guess I'll just leave it off with a question of how are we informing students that they can submit, these, I guess, how do I put it? They can submit the situation to the principal. How are we making sure that students are aware about it? Because as somebody, that's in a really diverse school, I personally never heard about it. And I don't think anybody else has as well, or as many students have, and I just think it would be important that we make this information more public.
Yeah, I think as I was hearing Chief Shorter, you describing the training that will take place this summer with school leaders, I think it's an opportunity to get to, tell me if this does it justice, Commissioner Chicas Guzman, the opportunity for school leaders to also clarify for students, parents, and other folks in the community how they can submit those areas of concern. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if there's an opportunity as you're thinking about structuring those trainings, is making sure that it also reaches the full school community to be able to be a part of the process, so it is not just limited to just the school leader. But I think what Commissioner Chicas Guzman is highlighting is that, yes, while folks can escalate that to the principal, it may not just be as clear in terms of how this works.
So maybe we can do a specific training for the ASCBC so that they can share that information. Yeah. So I think that's a great idea, and we'll work on getting that. We also work with another organization. We're starting to work with the Algebra Project, so we'll share this with them as well. So it's all in the works. We will never forget you. It's all about you. Okay.
Okay.
Just refine.
We also have a school police advisory committee too, so we could have them support that as well.
Just containing that information on a limited basis to leadership. Okay, it's like asking the general how the battle's going. They're not the ones that are running through the landmines or getting the grenades lobbed at them. So we really do have to get that information from the ground to understand where we're going with this. That's just a suggestion.
That's a crazy metaphor.
Well, thank you so much. I'm hoping this is helpful in the revision as you guys are working towards next steps.
Yep, thank you for the feedback, and you'll see it all reflected in May. Thank you.
School's office. I'm sorry. Thank you. All right. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. So now I'd like to welcome up Chief Teresa Jones, who I believe is virtual, and Executive Director Angela Alvarez to talk about the operator renewal process for this upcoming school year.
All right, they're just shuffling stuff around right now. Just waiting.
Good evening, Commissioners. Sorry for the little bit delay of getting connected. Unfortunately, Chief Jones is not able to join us tonight, so ONI is going to be presenting this upcoming year's operator renewal process. So I'm Angela Alvarez, the Senior Executive Director of the Office of New Initiatives, and I'm joined by...
Good evening. Kizzy Smith, Specialist in the Office of New Initiatives.
And so our review process is most closely aligned, I know it touches on several of these, to Board Priority 6, which is about increasing the number of high-quality educational experiences that we are able to offer schools, including to charter schools. This process has been informed through debriefing that we've done with operators, with the Board Strategic Planning Committee, and with our charter and operator-led Schools Advisory Board. And so tonight we're sharing the final process for the 26-27 school year. Operator renewal for schools, you as the board experience it every year, but for schools they experience it every 3, 5, or 8 years, depending on the length of their contract term. We've intentionally designed a process that understands that schools are complex places, and so we consider a multiple of quantitative and qualitative measures. That includes things such as school visits, focus groups for key stakeholder groups, and evidence provided by operators in their applications for renewal. Our process is aligned to board policy IHBJ. And there are 3 kind of key areas that we look at when we review schools: student achievement, academic success, which is worth 50% of the weight by that policy; school climate, and financial management and governance. We have 2 schools that are up for renewal in school year 26-27. The year after that, we're back into our normal range, which tends to be between 10 to 14 schools a year. The year after that, it's 11 schools. This process was originally, when the framework we've been using was originally developed in 2012, of a working group that included operators, included staff from charter advocacy organizations, as well as district staff, and we've been using that framework with the same measures. Since that, we've make updates to how we look at measures, but the measures themselves have been consistent since 2012 in terms of the types of things that we look at for when we're doing review. And we're always trying to balance, if we're making any changes, predictability for schools, so they know how they're going to be reviewed, with making sure that we're consistent with any kinds of changes that are needed. Most of our changes have been tied to changes at the state level, and trying to make sure we're aligned to changes in assessments or changes in how the state looks at assessments. And so as a result of this year's debriefing process, we are not proposing any changes from the process we've used for the last 2 years. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that we're very aware that the state is proposing, it's already begun doing some changes to the state assessment. And so, for example, one of those changes for high school schools with high school grades is they're going to include in proficiency whether students graduate, including dropouts, if those students score proficient on ELA and math in grades 9 through 12. So it's looking across the grade levels. Historically, the way the state has looked at it is looking at the graduate, so by 12th grade year. So this is a little bit of a change in how you're looking at the students. They're also proposing, well, no, they are also making sure that schools reach a 95% administration rate. So they've always had these targets, but now they've put a penalty. So if a school does not reach the 95%, they're going to add in non-proficient students to get them at a 95% proficient rate in terms of the total. So that may have an impact in for schools who have lower administration, lowering what proficiency looks like, because it's going to get them to 95% in terms of the things. So those are some changes. The biggest change that is coming that we're still trying to get information around is to the assessment itself. And so that's going to begin in the next school year, 26-27. And so that's a lot of change. Additionally, this is a smaller change and will align to this change if it goes into effect this year. They're reconsidering how we measure student growth percentile. The small change that they're saying will take effect in 26-27, but sometimes it's been our experience that they'll sometimes, if it's small, pursue it earlier. So we're just making sure that we're preparing you and that we're preparing schools that if they make this change, we will align to the change. And that is instead of looking at the median, which is the number in the middle, to come up with the overall student growth percentile for schools, doing an average or the mean instead. Those should be smaller changes, and so that's why we will align. We want to be consistent with the state and how we look at that. We're aware that there may be a more significant change to how we look at how the state looks at growth in the future. Future processes will need to align to that to the extent that growth is continued to be considered.
This coming year, 26-27, we will be in the renewal process with Kip Harmony and Baltimore International Academy West. Those are only 2 schools for this year, but then that following year will be back up to 11 schools. It's a part of our stakeholder feedback process and our debriefing with both school operators and the Charter and Operator-Led Schools Advisory Board. There were some asks. So in that, we had operators ask for poverty groupings used in renewal when they're not in renewal. So typically they get that information as a part of their renewal process, but they're asking for that even when they're not in the renewal process. And so we have agreed, OAA and ONI will make sure that they get the poverty index rates, but the groupings themselves will be shared when all schools, for all schools, once the MCAT data is released, which is during the summer. Another ask was around the feedback that they received. So during the process with our partners, SchoolWorks, who manage the school effectiveness review process, a full report is provided to school after the process ends, but they wanted some additional feedback immediately after the process during that first debriefing at the culminating day. We are going to, SchoolWorks will provide that additional feedback or some additional feedback to school leadership during that debriefing session at the end of their 2.5 day renewal.
And if I can just add to that, when SchoolWorks has done their briefing in the most recent rounds, they'll highlight 1 or 2 areas. Schools are asking to get feedback on each of the 4 areas as part of that debriefing. So that's what they mean by additional.
Around cohort retention. So cohort retention measures student mobility 2 years after entry. And operators are asking for us to consider some special populations when considering cohort retention, specifically MLs and high poverty and special populations for the 27-28 renewal period. And so we are going to look into that measure for the 27-28 renewal period. The renewal process timeline starts with the applications, which will start coming in early September and takes us through January 2027, where we will come before you for your with our recommendations for your vote.
And during that process, September through October, we'll have opportunities for the Charter and Operator-led Advisory Board to review the materials, application materials, and support materials submitted. And we'll have an opportunity to meet with the CEO to present those recommendations. Then once the CEO has an opportunity to review the applications and advisory recommendations, the CEO will present his recommendation, and which leads us into presenting that recommendation to the full board operator work session, where they have an opportunity to present on their behalf, and then the actual vote.
Yeah, and I just want to just acknowledge the work of the advisory board in this process, because with the most recent process that included about 40 people, and so people don't often see the people, but the people that are reviewing and giving us advice and giving the CEO advice on what the official recommendation could be are a mix of external, some operators, as well as internal people, and so it's a big undertaking, and the external people are freely giving of their time, and this is a serious process. It requires a lot of work, a lot of effort. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. They meet directly. We schedule a meeting directly with the CEO, so they provide that feedback directly to the CEO. So I just wanted to say that as we're beginning to kind of talk about the process. This is a summary of the things that we look at in the academic measure. We're going to continue to hold on including a trend or a measure that looks at overall school performance over time until we understand more about the new MCAP assessment. We're going to quickly kind of just touch on what each of the measures are in a very quick, abbreviated way, so we're not here too long. So the first is absolute performance, which looks at a school's most recent year of performance. We look at a combination of the percent proficient and how the school compares to their poverty index group, as well as the average performance level to get to the overall rating. And so I think that's an important way that we have been looking at and to understand school performance. So it gives you a comparison. We know that absolute performance is correlated to overall wealth. And so this is how we control for that and understand that performance in the process, and be able to give credit to schools who are performing higher than their peers of a similar, serving students of a similar poverty. Growth is the other thing that we look at that comes from the state assessments that we were looking at in 26-27. This is looking at the individual student level. So this is speaking to a school's ability to improve individual student performance year over year over time. And this is the assessment measure that has the most weight in how we look at school performance, because we're trying to improve as a district, and this is the thing that captures a school's ability to improve student performance. And we'll continue to look at that based on, again, comparisons based on percentile for students. The application that, the overall application that schools submit has a lot of questions about their practices and how they address challenges in their data. And so for fidelity to charter, we review that. This is reviewed by the Charter and Operator-led Schools Advisory Board, who use a rubric to provide the ratings. Those are described in detail in the reports that schools get, like how you got the ratings on any of these qualitative measures, but they're looking at is the school delivering on what it promised that it would to the board? How are they dealing with challenges in the data, particularly in student performance, how they're using a curriculum, how they're using PDA. So this is where those things are considered. Another measure that we look at for schools that have diverse populations is effective programming for all student racial ethnic groups. And so we're trying to consider how a school is ensuring that all students are performing well, and that they're not groups where the overall performance may look great, but they're not thinking about the student groups that they serve. The evidence that we looked at comes from research around best practice. So we're looking at the quality of programming, again, data awareness. Are they offering rigor to all students? Are they offering on-grade level content? Again, those are kinds of things that come out of research, evidence-based practices. And then we look at median SGPs for each of those groups and within the school over time. Again, this is another measure scored by the advisory board using a rubric. For high schools or schools with high school grades, we look at 4-year cohort grad rate, 3-year average. It's scored on an absolute basis. So the table below shows how we arrived at those ratings. For college and career readiness, we have 3 components to that. We're looking at participation and indicators that the state are aligned to demonstrating college and career readiness, and that's worth 25%. So school gets credit for a student participating in any one of these indicators. For success, we're looking again, this is again aligned to state metrics. Is the student achieving at a certain level or any of those indicators? And then for students who've already graduated 16 months ago, we look at college enrollment, and that's where 15% of the college and career readiness is scored, and then it's benchmarked and percentile ranked against other high schools to come up with the rating. The last thing that we look at in the academic section of the process is the 5 Essentials survey. This is a survey of teachers and instructional staff and students. It looks at 5 areas that have been shown that schools that are organized around these 5 areas can improve success. So effective leaders, collaborative teachers, ambitious instruction, supportive environment, involved families. This has been used for a significant amount of time in Chicago and among districts across the country, including our district. Schools, their research has shown over and over again, schools strong in at least 3 of the 5 essentials are 10 times more likely to improve student outcomes across metrics. If a school is weak in any one, they have a less than 10% chance of improving outcomes. So we look at that.
The next section that we consider in the renewal review process is school climate. And so within that, the climate review, we're looking at the SER measures, as we spoke before. The SchoolWorks partner does the SER review. And in that review, we're looking at talented people, vision and engagement, as well as highly effective instruction. And then there's the family satisfaction survey, which we are looking at. We're looking at information from up to 5 years. Then there's cohort retention, chronic absence, suspensions, and effective programming for students with disabilities. In those measures, we are looking at quantitative measures in there as well, which come from a part of their the review process, as well as the application materials that they submit to us. And that is all a part of the advisory board's review process, which we spoke of before. And then there's the chronic absenteeism and suspensions data as well. And then lastly, there, as a part of the climate part, there's the effective program programming for students with disabilities. It is important to note that we piloted a 3rd component for this measure last year, but as a part of the 25-26 renewal process, but we are not including that in this year's renewal process. We may revisit it going forward into 2027-28 renewal process. So for now, as we move into the 26-27 process, this measure is based on the evidence
from the school compliance visit, which is managed by our special educators who go into the schools and do a actual review or audit of their physical folders, special education folders, in the same way in which the state would do it. And then evidence collected, again, that's a part of that application process. That's when they have the opportunity to show us and tell us about the things that aren't necessarily showing up in the data yet, and gives us an opportunity to see what they're doing, whether they're paying attention to the data, how they're using that information to move students.
The last section that we look at is financial management and governance. There are kind of three components. The first thing is looking at their audit, their independent audits to make sure there's no unqualified opinions, no management points, that there's strong performance on their short-term liquidity measures, and based on their statements of cash flow and ratio of assets to liabilities. This is evaluated by our finance team. And so those are where those ratings come from. Strategic leadership and governance comes from that school effectiveness review. So that's, just looking at how the leadership in the school creates a strong learning environment. And then operator capacity is evaluated by O&I, again, using a rubric and using data. So we're looking at whether schools consistently meeting their obligations, specifically in areas that are critical to meeting health and safety of students, or could cause harm to the district in some way. So we're looking at significant kind of areas of concern. Are they managing their grant dollars effectively? Are they fully enrolled per the contract? Because that can indicate some financial instability. Have they had serious accountability notices during the contract term? Are significant findings that could cause harm to the district? So these are the things that we look at in renewal. At the back are the weights for the process, and that concludes our presentation for tonight.
Thank you guys so much.
Two areas. First is academic success. With all the changes that are coming down the road, we're looking at algebra being, now you can take what's the thing called, where you can actually take the next step because we're changing the algebra qualification, and math is a very big part of assessment, in that school success. When we're looking at college and career readiness, the second question is yes, we're looking at how many people actually apply or get into, but how about career readiness? The other aspect, I don't know if we concentrate really heavily on. Are these students getting jobs? Are they getting employed? What happens afterwards? Because I remember in our last round, the question came up, well, this happens down the line, but where down the line do we measure that, and how do we incorporate that into the analysis of a school? And the last aspect has to deal with the finance. Financing of schools are changing now. And so there's a variable here that doesn't seem like, there's a variable changing on how we look at, especially our charter schools. So how are we measuring those changes, in our evaluation of a school? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, those are great questions. In terms of some of the things that impact high school, so the two schools that are coming before you most immediately are K-8s. So that gives us some time to really understand what the state is proposing. That would feed into the process that comes after that. So that's one of the reasons why we said let's just keep everything as is for now, to allow us time for that. Within college and career readiness, we do currently look at CTE. So we're looking at students that are involved in career technical education, as well as students who are considered concentrators in that, to be able to get at that kind of work experience. But there's other things we can think about now. We have time to do that. I think I forgot your second question. Oh, financial management. So we look at that. So, it starts with those review of audits. So it comes up both in the review of the audits, which could result in, depending on what the audit said, we needed to review additional financial, but it also comes up in the operator capacity piece. So this is where we're looking at grant management. We as an office collect certain financial information from schools, and so those are things that are considered in both places. And so we'll have to continue to have discussions about that if there are different ways. But I think we've been good at being able to see truly where schools are through the documents that we're collecting. But we're always thinking about if there's additional things that we should be reviewing.
And the time frame for those audits, they're current audits, or because the audits don't come up for every school every year?
Well, no, they do. They have to turn in an audit every year. It is a lagging indicator. It's similar to graduation rate. So when we're looking at audits, we're looking at the 3 most recent audits. So from the last year that closed. So for the schools that are coming up in 26, 27, the audits we would have would be the 25, 24, and 23 is what we would look at.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Additional question? For a point of clarity for me, the audits who's conducting the audit, I guess, to get straight to the question.
Yeah, they have to be conducted by independent financial professionals.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then the review of the finances is conducted by our finance team. Marianne Cox, her team does that review of any kind of financial documents. For grants, we work with Kim Hoffman. Her team does the review of grant management. So it lets us know about spending, lets us know if there's been issues in being compliant with federal requirements around those grants.
Specifically looking at, you had mentioned kind of if there are safety concerns about liability for the district. I know specifically around buildings, like especially in buildings that we do not own. Just speaking a little bit in terms of what measures are being put in to ensure and provide consistent accountability. Because it's one thing if there's a problem to flag and then look, but kind of proactively, what is the district doing to limit that liability going forward as part of the charter?
I think that's a great question. I think that's an area where we can improve in the future. When schools choose to locate an external buildings, they have to get approval from the board, and so we work with our facilities team to kind of review like the building itself. Does it meet like the requirements? Often they're doing renovation, so that team helps us set up regular meetings to sort of review that. But once they're in a building, if we get concerns, which we do from time to time, then those are considered in our operating capacity because it's health and safety kind of consideration. But it's definitely an area for improvement in terms of how we look at that, especially the longer duration schools are in facilities. And, there's a new legislation that's giving additional funding to facilities, so we need to make sure schools are compliant. We have put schools on notice, but we haven't necessarily considered that in the renewal process. But we have been monitoring schools and who, for example, across the district, we're trying to make sure that everybody has AC. So there's certain charters that did not have. We put them on notice, and we urge them to use certain grant dollars to get that we need to have AC across the district. So we will do things like that, but we have not used it in renewal at this point as an accountability point, unless there was a health safety issue that would have led to us issuing an accountability notice.
Thanks. I think just by way of building on that, Baltimore City has led, when you talk to people who are doing charter renewals in other states and boards and other places, it's a completely different universe. So I guess I wonder kind of what there's been such a meticulous and thoughtful approach to providing consistent documentation. I guess wonder just how do we build on that in this area as we continue to close gaps and improve. And then one last question and then a comment. I'm sorry, y'all. Looking at just kind of the general feedback of SchoolWorks, you had talked about that they're looking for more feedback as on the final day of the interview, which makes sense. It's a long time. There's a lot of anxiety built up for this for school partners and for kids and families. And I guess just looking broadly, what has been the feedback from schools and community members for SchoolWorks in doing this work? Like, has there generally been high level of satisfaction, and kind of that previously been done in-house but has moved to an outside partner to just looking at that process?
Yeah, I mean, we had positive feedback. So, like, the feedback from, and it was from a few operators, was wanting to hear more, know more sooner in that final debrief with the school leadership team, because they value the feedback. They're like, if we could have some points of clarity from each of the 4 sections, it would help them in their planning for the next year. And so looking at it not just as something that's useful in terms of the renewal process and meaningful in terms of the outcome from that, but actually meaningful in the work they do as schools. So I think that's a powerful endorsement from operators.
And then finally, I guess a comment and then looking for like, as this is area that we look to be spending a lot more time on as a board in the next couple of months and years, I think just pushing, I'm wondering a lot about kind of what is the broader vision of the role that charters should be playing as part of the portfolio, and thinking kind of what is the unique sauce that they're bringing. And so looking at a lot of these metrics, if we're looking at academics, it should be, are they performing at average or better? And thinking kind of building beyond that, what are we asking charters to bring to the school portfolio? And thinking about how do we measure that, realizing that is hard to quantify, but thinking about that as a board, as a public, as a community, as we move forward.
The standard for a full renewal is that you have to be in that higher, in the 65th percentile. I think as we get more stability, like part of the challenge has been in being in different assessments. So it's moved us away from that type of review, because the way the data looks different. It'll push back. But I think that's a big space for this board and for the new CEO to think about what else that could look like. But by our policy and by state law, the role of charters is to accelerate or improve outcomes for students. So that at least is definitely one thing. And I think there's room for conversation about what the other things are.
I think like building on that, given the fiscal landscape for charters, of like what is that thing that we are asking? How are we having and structuring that conversation? That there's transparency and clarity in application as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Questions? Thank you so much for the presentation this evening. We look forward to continue to engage in the process with the team and with our broader schools communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Good evening. So our last item tonight is a vote on the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Ames Messenger, so moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Ames Messenger. Is there a second?
Second, Chicas Guzman.
Let me do Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. All in favor? Vice Chair Parker?
Yes.
Commissioner Ames Messenger?
Yes.
Commissioner Chicas Guzman?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy? Absent. Commissioner Esposito? Absent. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Mohammed is absent. Commissioner Scott Woodruff?
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater-Harrington? And I'm in favor. This motion passes. Thank you. Just to round us out, a couple of quick calendar notifications. Just a reminder that tomorrow evening is a student board forum right here in the boardroom at 4 p.m. Operations Committee will be meeting on Tuesday, April 28th, along with our policy committee Our MBE Symposium, that's the Minority Business Symposium, will be held at 4 North Martin Luther King Boulevard on Tuesday, April 30th, and our next public board meeting will be on May 5th. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Gosh. I'm going to take Chicas Guzman, and I'll take the vice chair on the second. All in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. We stand adjourned. Good night.
All right.